Welcome to WEHM All Access, the podcast where we bring you in-depth conversations with the people shaping life right here on Eastern Long Island. Now, every episode, we're going to dive into the stories, the music, and the voices that define our community, from local leaders to the musicians you know and love. And throughout the summer, we're catching up with many of the performers taking the stage at the Great South Bay Music Festival, getting the inside scoop on their music, their journey, and what they're bringing to Patchogue this year. On this episode of WEHM All Access, we're speaking with guitarist and songwriter Quinn Sullivan. He's a former child prodigy who's grown into a thoughtful, seasoned artist as we get into his early years with Buddy Guy, how he found his voice as a songwriter, and what he's bringing to the bandshell stage at this year's Great South Bay Music Festival. Here's our conversation with Quinn Sullivan on WEHM All Access. Well, starting on Thursday, July 23rd through Sunday, July 26th, it's the 2026 edition of the Great South Bay Music Festival, and so many great acts this year, and we wanted to do something a little bit different where we had a chance to reach out to many of the artists that are performing at this year's festival and get to know them a little bit. And looking at the schedule, the bandshell Five Towns College stage that's happening on Saturday, July 25th. Wrapping it up is Quinn Sullivan, I believe a Massachusetts native. Quinn, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you for chatting. We appreciate this. And I guess the first question I have is, have you played the festival before, or is this your first time?
This will be my first time.
Oh, wow. Very nice. So have you been to Long Island recently, or?
No, actually. I forget the last time I was there. I probably played about 3 or 4 years ago at Stephen Talkhouse.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I haven't really been back since, though. Yeah.
Well, this is a little different, and you'll be wrapping it up, I believe. I think you're last on the stage on that Saturday night at the bandshell. And I wanted to kind of get to know you a bit because I was reading about kind of where you come from, and you're originally from Massachusetts?
Yeah, I'm from a city called New Bedford. Oh, yes.
Very nice. Well, you've been doing a lot of different things, and I guess that the thing that stood out to me the most was the fact that you really started really young in music. How did you know? How old were you when you first picked up a guitar?
I was 3 years old when I first picked up a guitar.
No, was that a real guitar, or was that because sometimes with kids?
It was a real guitar.
Wow.
It was a real guitar. I got a guitar for Christmas by my parents, and they had already kind of assumed that I was obsessed with music, because I was obsessed with music, and they assumed that I just, would just kind of gravitate towards it. And I think I had asked them for it too. It's a little, that time in my life's a little foggy,
a little fuzzy right now. Yes,
but I can remember getting it for Christmas and just absolutely taking to it very, very quickly. And I learned very fast. I started taking lessons full time when I was 5. And it was a fast learn for me. I didn't have to work at it too much, until I did have to work at it. You know what I mean? But the initial interest and initial first, couple of years of playing, it was kind of a natural thing. Yeah.
Were your parents musical? I'd imagine you must come from a musical family to start that.
My dad's a drummer, and he was in a Grateful Dead cover band for 30 years. So my mom didn't play anything, but she loved music. So I was always around music growing up. I mean, it was every day. It was a different record. I remember they had the stereo system set up in our old apartment before we moved into this house that I'm at now. And it was a stereo system. They had these big headphones in it. They just put on different music from, the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, Dire Straits, the Beatles. All of the classic rock stuff was just really prevalent in my house. Yeah.
Do you remember the first song you learned?
My first song that I really, really learned and I felt very proud of, it was a song, the Beatles song Blackbird, actually. Yeah, that was the first song that I felt like in my mind, I was like, I know how to play this. This is great. Like, I feel like I might be able to do something here.
Were you listening even at the early age, and you mentioned more starting with around 5, with lessons and other things? What were you listening to back then? Because it sounded like you were listening to different things than the average 5-year-olds. Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean, when you have two parents that are deeply in love with classic rock music and singer-songwriter, early 70s singer-songwriter music, I mean, that was what was around. I was heavily listening to the Beatles, heavily listening to the Dead and the Allman Brothers. Santana was also a big influence too. So I was influenced by all of that stuff. And then my mom, she played a lot of like Joni Mitchell and Carole King and James Taylor and some of the more sort of softer rocky singer-songwriter music. So I was also getting introduced to that stuff as well as the more harder rock stuff So it was kind of just a cross pollination between those two sides of music, and it's still the music that influences me today. I mean, I listen to that stuff all the time still. But now, as I've gotten a bit older, I'm 27 now, I've developed my own musical taste over the last, 10, 15 years of my life. So it's kind of all across the board. Yeah.
When did you get comfortable playing in front of people? Was that something that you were always good at, or when did it kind of where you were comfortable getting on a stage?
I was always confident getting on stage. That's the one thing that a lot of people are like, you were never nervous. It's funny. I get more nervous now than I did when I was 5. When you're a kid, you don't really know what's going on around you most of the time. It's in this life that I began when I was 6 or 7 playing on stage. It was normal to me. We'd play around my area. There'd be different concerts that, local shows that bands would find out that I was there and bring me out on stage with them. And, we became friends with a lot of these local musicians that would have me come and sit in with them. So I always felt very comfortable on stage. It was always a very comfortable thing. I think when I started singing more and I started performing in that way more, that kind of became a little bit of a different thing. But yeah, I've never had a problem getting on stage. Yeah.
Was it? It sounds like you had a lot of confidence at that young age, and you met a lot of different people, including. When did you meet Buddy Guy? Because I read that he's been a mentor for you.
Yeah, I met Buddy when I was 8 years old at a theater near where we live, and I got to go backstage and meet him. We knew a couple of people that worked at the theater, and they got us backstage. And I had kind of known that Buddy brought younger kids on stage if he felt like they could really play.
Yeah.
And he would do that quite a bit. So I wasn't expecting anything, but the off chance that it may happen, I had my guitar with me, and I remember going back and I met him for the first time, and he was super nice and friendly, and we hung out with him for about 10, 15 minutes, and I played a little guitar for him because he saw that I had my guitar. I wanted him to sign it, and I played a few things on the guitar, and he pretty much was like, "You be ready when I call you tonight," and it was a really moment that changed my whole life. And I credit Buddy to a lot of what I'm doing now. I mean, he was my mentor for a good 10 years of my life, and we traveled across the world together. I got to play all over the place with him, opening for him, sitting in with him, and all of these different things that we got to do together. So, he was kind of like my college. I never went to college, but I always consider myself a student of Buddy Guy University because he brought me all around the world, and he taught me so much, and very grateful to him. Yeah.
I can imagine. What was it like being 8 years old? Were you nervous, or you just don't know any different? Because getting a chance to play on stage with a legend like himself, what is that like? What goes through your mind as you're heading out, you're being brought up?
I think when you're a kid, you don't really understand, like I was saying before, you don't really understand what's going on around you that much. So you're just kind of really, truly living in the moment. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about when you're a really small kid. You can really be in the moment, and you really can not have a lot of things around you that are stressing you out, and this is from my experience personally. I mean, I think I've had time now to reflect on that time in my life, and now I can fully digest it and fully understand the enormity of all of that. But I think at that time, I don't think I was fully aware. I mean, I knew how cool it was, and I knew how exciting it was, and I knew how this whole thing was making me feel, but I never probably thought too much about it. It was just another thing I was doing. But yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, when you reflect and you think about stuff in more of a deeper way of how it has affected different parts of your life as you move through life. I mean, it's a huge experience and huge honor. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah.
When did you start writing music?
It was probably when I started writing songs. I was probably about 15, 16 when I started to write songs. I didn't really write a lot when I was a kid. I was the first few records that came out. I put out my first record when I was 11, and my second record I was 14, and then my third record I was 16. So at that point, at my third record, I really started to write a little bit more and get more into the songwriting aspect. But it kind of changed when I was like 18, 19, I really started to write a lot and started to really love songwriting and co-writing with a lot of people. And you know, that was a point in my life where I kind of thought of myself, okay, I'm not just this guitar player. Like I want to write my own songs. I want to have my own voice in this industry, and you know, and that carries a career forward, you know. And it's kind of it coincides with when you're a kid and you get recognized early on in your career, and you know, people call you a prodigy and all of these things. The hardest thing in the world to do is to transition that into having an adult career in music. So I knew at 18, 19, when I was becoming a man and I wasn't no longer a kid, it was like, okay, I need to figure out how the hell to write songs. I need to learn how to do this. And it's still an everyday practice that you have to practice every single day and be surrounded by good people that really know how to do it.
When you sit down to write, what usually comes first? Is it the guitar, the music, or the lyrics? Where do you start?
For me, it's always the music first. I never really write lyrics first. It's hard for me to come up with words or even a melody if I don't have some sort of music that I'm hearing in my head. And it just seems to be the thing that naturally I just write first. Like, it's always the idea that I have is always guitar, chord progression, or even I write on piano too. It normally comes first, and then through that you can sort of kind of imagine what the song might be about based on what music you're hearing that you just written or whatever. So, but when I'm co-writing with people, I'll normally bring in an idea that I've already started, and then that person will either help me kind of craft the melody or craft the lyrics, or a lot of times I'll have a title that I'll want to write about, or just a you know, like a story that I kind of want to go towards in writing and stuff. It's all over the place. It depends on who you're writing with. But
do you prefer to collaborate with others when you're writing?
Oh yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah. I think collaboration is I've gotten my best stuff through collaborating with other people and bouncing ideas off of people, and I like doing it too, because I learn, you know, when I write with different people, I just learn different things. I mean, I wrote the last record I put out, Salvation. I wrote with, you know, 2 or 3 core people that wrote the whole thing with me, and it was such a learning experience. And Wide Awake, which was the album before that one, that was written with completely different people that I learned different things from. So I think every time you get in a room with different people, it's a way to just learn and get better, you know.
You worked with Buddy Guy, obviously, and it had such an impact on you. What was it like to have him listen to your first records and kind of give feedback?
You know, it's funny. I don't think he really ever gave me any feedback. I don't even know if I think he must have listened to those early records. I'm not sure if he ever even did, but I don't think Buddy listened. I could be wrong. I never remembered him listening to a lot of music, you know. But I mean, I think, you know, he respected it, and he was always my loudest publicist that was shouting me out everywhere. So I can imagine he probably knew some stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask him some point.
Well, what was it like transitioning? And you mentioned it briefly about hearing the word prodigy when you're younger and you're trying to become a man, an adult, and kind of make it a career. What's that like? Because this is all you've known since you were 3 years old, really. What's the pressure like that for you? What goes through your mind? Because it's got to be moments of a lot of stress, but also a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress. And, you know, to be honest with you, there's days where it's really, really hard. But I think if you surround yourself with the right people, if you know that if you're working with certain people that aren't aligning with what you want to do, you get rid of them, and you have to know that, and you have to have a lot of hard conversations. And I've dealt with that kind of thing over the last 4 or 5 years. You know, I was on a record label that wasn't really the right fit. So, you know, that was a recent thing that happened where I left the label, and I'm a fully independent artist now. So, I mean, a lot of things have happened, but you just got to roll with it. You got to have a thick skin. This industry is not for the weak. And even though I follow my sword all the time, but, you know, you know, year after year, I've realized when you have so many things that happen to you in your own personal life, I mean, it just kind of shapes who you are, and I think it just ends up making you a stronger person overall. So that just helps when you're dealing with stress in your career and stuff. But I think the main thing is just moving forward and looking ahead, and realizing that it's not just a short-term career that you want to have. You want to have a long-term longevity. You want to have long success at this. So it's, you kind of have to look at it as kind of a marathon and not a sprint.
I'd imagine your parents have been incredibly supportive over the years about what you want to do.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, both of them have just championed me. And
does your dad still play, or?
My dad plays a little bit. Yeah. He had an injury actually about 10 years ago that could kind of stopped him from playing drums for a little while, but he's been getting back into it slowly. He always, we talk sometimes. He's like, I just want to get up there for one, and I'm like, you got a spot anytime, Dad.
That's really nice.
He works with me on this too. He's my current tour manager and stuff, and we travel together and stuff. So he's a big part of my career, and just a good guy to bounce ideas off of too. He's a smart guy.
What's it like? The music industry has changed so much as you've grown up. I was just thinking, I think I saw you were born in '99, and literally that's kind of when things started to change with everything online and different ways to access music. So you've kind of seen it firsthand. What's it like to be able to, I guess, put together a record as an independent artist, but kind of know what direction to go in? Because there really are no rules anymore. There's no necessarily a set path.
There's no set path. I'm trying to figure it out every day. I wish I had a great answer for that. I think the one constant thing is you just have to trust your gut, and you have to always be true to who you are. I don't think there is any room in today's world to be a version of yourself that someone's telling you to be that isn't really what you are. And I've dealt with that for many, many, many years. I feel like just now, honestly, with the newer music that I've been writing and the stuff I've been putting out recently is just totally all me, 100% me. And if you can stand behind that and be confident in that, I think the rest of it has to do with a lot of luck and a lot of timing and just things that really are out of your control. But I think if the one constant thing is you having the belief that the songs that you're making are awesome, and you believe in them and stand behind them as the thing that you're selling to people and putting in front of people, I think that's the only really thing you can control these days. But as far as making a whole album, I mean, making an album is expensive, I'll be honest, and it's a hard thing to do if you don't have the finances to back it. I find that I talk to a lot of bands nowadays. Like I've got some friends that have bands now, and they're trying to do the same thing as far as like just getting out there and playing. And that's the challenge always. It's like, well, we don't have, X amount of money to make this whole album. And so that's where I feel like, singles are kind of the answer for that right now. Because you can make a single for pretty cheap these days, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, and it can sound great. So that's kind of what I've been doing these days.
What's the difference for you? The difference between studio and live performance? Do you write for a live performance? How do you kind of set it up, or do you know how you want to kind of develop your own stage show?
That's a good question. I think I try. I mean, you can go into writing a record thinking that, like, okay, I'm writing these songs to play live, and that's it, But I think I never really go into the studio with the idea or thinking about how this is going to be played live. Sometimes that actually hurts me at the end of the day, because I realize, oh shit, I can't play this song live because I don't have two other guys that can play these parts that are like layered on this record. So I actually was thinking about that a tiny bit on this last record I did. Was like, every single song cannot be like this huge production, because I'm not going to be able to be able to do this live. So I do kind of tend to think about it a tiny bit, but I try not to let it control the writing or the production, if that makes any sense. Like I try to make sure that what I'm doing is totally for the song, and it's not for any other reason. But like, if we need a synth part here, or we need a little string arrangement here, like, let's do that. If it's working for the song, it feels right. We'll figure it out later. Yeah.
Of course, Saturday night at the Great South Bay Music Festival, the 25th, you're performing on the band Shell stage at the end of the night. And I'm curious, what's it like to walk in? Because do you get to spend the day there? Do you show up? When do you show up? How do you know you're ready to go? Because you're kind of entering this foreign space all of a sudden, where people have been playing all day. What's it like to perform at a festival, especially when you're the last act?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, when we do festivals, we normally try to get there to watch as many people as we can. I think this one, we're going to try to get there, reasonably early, just so we can get situated, since it's our first time playing this festival. So it's always a new venture every time you do something new, especially at a festival. Venues are a little bit easier because you can control, especially if you're the headliner, you can control the situation a little bit more. But I think a festival, and especially one that you don't know well, you never know what's going to happen. You have to really, I think the one thing I've learned from playing music festivals in general is that you need to be able to do things on the fly. And what I mean by that is, like, if, you're getting ready to go play, and, someone comes up to you at a festival and goes, hey, we're not going to have time for a sound check because this band got cut, or this band's set got short, or you might get told that you're only playing 20 minutes instead of 45 minutes. I mean, you have to kind of roll with those things, because festivals move at their pace. It's not based on any artist or band's pace. It's always based on, like, the schedule and how the festival is flowing and stuff. So I think being good on your feet and being able to compromise is probably the best lesson I've learned from playing music festivals.
That makes sense. It's been a couple of years since your last record. Are you working on? Are you writing? What do you want to do in the near future as far as performing a new record?
Been writing a ton. I'm thinking about a new album now. I don't have any plans to put a new record out this year, but I'm slowly kind of thinking about it now. I have a ton of songs that I've written that haven't come out yet, and planning on heading to Nashville at the end of the summer and writing some more and hanging out there for a little bit. But I have a single that I'm really happy, like, really excited about sharing with people at some point. I'm not sure when I'm going to release it yet, but it's a song that I'm really proud of, that is probably a little bit of a different kind of sound than people are used to hearing from me. So trying to, just figure out the best way to put that out right now. But yeah, just writing a ton. I mean, always writing. And we're playing live a ton this year too. We're on the road all year, all summer, all fall, and hitting some new territories too, which I'm really excited about. So, yeah, we're just cracking the pavement. Yeah.
What artists excite you right now, and that you're listening to, and kind of, because you mentioned you kind of grew up an old soul a little bit, but what are the artists that you've discovered on your own in your 20s and kind of inspire you?
God, so many people. I mean, one of my biggest heroes, I think, of all time is John Mayer. I'm a huge Mayer fan. I love, what else do I love? Marcus King is another one I really like, and I love his playing and his singing a lot. Another band, too, that I've listened to for a long time is Tame Impala. I'm a huge Tame Impala fan. I love the psychedelic rock that Kevin puts into that stuff. I think it's brilliant. Been getting into some Beck recently. He's really cool. My Morning Jacket, shout out them, too. I know they're playing this year at Great Bay. They're another band that I'm really loving right now. And who else? Tedeschi Trucks band I love too. Those guys are my friends. I've been friends with them for a while, and love what they're doing right now.
When you're writing, how do you? Because I think it's tricky. You obviously you're influenced a little bit by what you hear, but how do you make sure that it's not influencing you too much on some level? Like, how do you kind of put it all together and kind of create your own sound? Because obviously you mentioned that the new song sounds a little bit different than what you've done. How do you decide to do that, and how do you make sure that you don't necessarily are too influenced by other people?
I mean, great point. I think one of the things that I try to do, and I've heard other people say this too, is like when you're in writing mode and you're working on a record or a song or whatever, like trying not to listen to too much music while you're doing it. Because I think if you're listening to a lot of music, it could, like you said, like influence.
It's the irony of it all, yeah. Because you
way more than you thought, or like subconsciously. I'll be listening to like music heavily and walk in a studio or whatever, or even like on the guitar, like I'll be like listening to music and then play a show, and then I'll like listen back and I'll be like, damn, I was totally copying the hell out of this person, And it's the same thing with writing. It's like, oh, well, we're going down, we can't go down this road right now because this is totally ripping off that, So there's a fine line. Sometimes you can get away with things here and there if it's not totally copying. And I've done that plenty of time. I don't think there's a person out there that hasn't. I mean, you can't run away. Like what I've learned is you can't run away from your influences. I mean, they're always around you and they're always in your body and your soul. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you just try not to listen to a lot of music and be distracted by those things. And I find myself too, like I don't play every day. A lot of people are surprised to hear that. I don't play guitar every day. I pick it up when I want. And I've kind of set that up for myself because if I play every day, I get really bored easily. So if I'm not picking the guitar up, I notice when I do go to pick it up, I'm way more excited to play and I'm way more inspired. So yeah.
How do you started so young, and you're still young really, but as you grow and you learn, what's it like to see other younger musicians, and how does that kind of factor in and how you grow and teaching others? Is that something that you're interested in mentoring? People that kind of went through or are going through what you went through.
Yeah, I mean, anytime anybody ever has any questions, if they send me a message on Instagram or something, I mean, I'm always, in my inbox checking stuff and reaching back out to people if they have advice and stuff. I get asked more than I thought that I would think I would, but a lot of people are struggling. They're trying. I'm struggling too. I mean, everybody's struggling. I mean, there's no one right now, I don't think, unless you're in the top 1% of the world, that's not struggling in some way. So I think, you have to be honest with people. You have to tell them really, truly how this industry works. But it's changing every day. It's you have to like be so many different things now. And there's so many different, avenues that you could go down and stuff. But I think you have to just, again, stay true to who you are. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Yeah. But yeah, people ask me stuff and I try to lend my advice where I can and help out people, and maybe move them in what I think might be the right direction if they're struggling to kind of find the zone and where they're trying to go with it. But I also tell them, man, I'm trying to figure it out too.
Well, that's great. But you experienced it, and you kind of can lead people in the right direction and kind of trust their gut as they move along. Chatting with Quinn Sullivan. He's performing Saturday nights. It is July 25th at the Great South Bay Music Festival. You can get tickets at greatSouthBayMusicFestival.com. And, of course, check out QuinnSullivanMusic.com for everything you need to know about Quinn. Doing a whole bunch of stuff. The record Salvation came out a couple years back. That's up there, and a whole bunch more. And sounds like new music coming our way soon. So, Quinn, thank you so much for your time. It was really nice to get to know you and look forward to meeting you at the festival.
Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to it.